The vent above my desk carried more than stale air that Tuesday night. It carried the sound of my wife's laughter, breathless, intimate, nothing like the mechanical chuckle she'd given me in months. I stopped grading my calculus papers and listened harder. "Oh, Jace," Elena's voice drifted down from her office directly above mine. "You're so gifted in many ways." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My red pen froze mid-correction. Gifted. That's what she called her star student, 21-year-old Jace Porter, the golden boy with the scholarship and the smile that made middle-aged women forget their wedding rings. Elena had been tutoring him after hours for weeks now, always with her office door locked, always coming home flushed and distracted. "I can't believe we're doing this," came Jace's voice, muffled but unmistakable. Neither could I. "I'm Trevor Langley, 37 years old, math teacher at Grayfield High School. My wife Elena teaches Spanish at the community college across town. We've been married 8 years, and for 7 of them, I thought I knew her. Turns out, I only knew the version of her that existed before she met her gifted student." The sounds from above grew more rhythmic. I closed my eyes and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak, exactly. More like the moment when you realize you've been solving the wrong equation all along, and now you have to start over with the correct variables. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice memo app. The recording quality through the vent wasn't perfect, but it was clear enough. Elena's voice. "God, you make me feel so alive." Jace's response. "You're incredible, Mrs. Langley, so much more passionate than girls my age." Mrs. Langley. "Even during their affair, he couldn't drop the formality. Kid had manners, I'd give him that." The sounds stopped abruptly. Footsteps above, then Elena's voice again. "We need to be more careful. Trevor's getting suspicious." "Trevor?" Jace laughed. "That boring math teacher? What's he gonna do, calculate us into submission?" They both laughed at that. I stopped the recording and saved it with the date and time. Evidence. In math, you always show your work. I packed up my papers and headed home to our apartment on Elm Street. Grayfield is one of those upstate New York college towns where everyone knows everyone else's business, except apparently I'd missed the biggest story of all. The streets were empty at 9 p.m., just yellow streetlights and the distant sound of students partying near campus. Elena's car wasn't in our driveway yet. Still tutoring, no doubt. Our apartment felt different now that I knew the truth. The wedding photos on the mantel looked like evidence of a crime I'd been too stupid to prevent. Elena's Spanish textbooks stacked on the coffee table seemed like props in an elaborate lie. Even the bed we shared felt contaminated by secrets. I made coffee and sat at our kitchen table, staring at my phone. The recording was 3 minutes and 47 seconds long. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of my marriage dissolving into something ugly and predictable. Elena came home at 10:15, keys jingling, humming some Spanish song under her breath. She looked beautiful, flushed cheeks, bright eyes, hair slightly messed. She looked the way she used to look when we were dating, when she'd come home to me instead of from someone else. "How was tutoring?" I asked. "Oh, you know, Jace is really struggling with subjunctive tenses." She kicked off her heels and stretched. "He needs so much extra attention." "I bet he does." She looked at me sharply. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just that he's lucky to have such a dedicated teacher." Elena studied my face for a moment, then shrugged. "I'm going to shower. Long day." I listened to the water run and thought about the recording on my phone. In mathematics, once you have proof of a theorem, you can build on it. You can construct more complex proofs, solve bigger problems. This recording was my foundational proof. Now I needed to see how far the equation could go. The next morning, Elena left early for her department meeting. I knew better now. I drove to Grayfield Community College and parked across from the language building. Sure enough, Jace's red Mustang was already there, gleaming in the morning sun like a beacon of my humiliation. I'd been teaching high school math for 12 years. I knew how to spot patterns, how to gather data, how to test hypotheses. If Elena and Jace were having an affair, there would be more evidence. There always was. During my lunch break, I drove to El Toro, the tapas bar where Elena claimed she sometimes grabbed dinner after her evening classes. The bartender was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s named Tina Sharp. Yes, that was really her name, and yes, she'd heard all the jokes. "Trevor Langley," she said when I sat down. "Elena's husband. Haven't seen you in here before." "Elena comes here?" Tina's expression shifted slightly. "Sometimes. Usually with that young guy from her college. Jace something. Her student." "Right." Tina wiped down a glass, not meeting my eyes. "Student." I ordered a beer and asked casual questions. Tina was a gossip by nature and profession, and she painted a clear picture. Elena and Jace had been coming in together for weeks, sitting close, laughing, touching hands across the table. Last week they'd left together, Elena's hand on Jace's back as they walked to his car. "Look," Tina said finally, "I don't like to get involved in people's business, but you seem like a decent guy. Maybe you should know that they weren't exactly subtle." I thanked her and left a generous tip. Evidence was mounting. That evening, I waited in my classroom until I heard Elena's voice in the office above. This time, I was ready. I had a better recording app, and I'd positioned my phone near the vent for optimal sound quality. The conversation started professionally enough: discussion of an upcoming test, review of Jace's latest essay. Then Elena's voice changed, became softer, more intimate. "You've been on my mind all day," she said. "Yeah? What were you thinking about?" "About how good you make me feel. How alive." "Mrs. Langley. Elena. When we're alone like this, call me Elena." The rustling sounds that followed made my stomach turn. I kept recording anyway. In math, you don't stop calculating just because you don't like where the numbers are heading. "I love how young you are," Elena's voice, breathless now. "So strong, so eager. You're incredible, so much better than girls my age. You know what you want. I want you. God, I want you so much." The sounds that followed were unmistakable. I stopped the recording at 8 minutes and 12 seconds. More than enough evidence for what I had in mind. I drove home and found Elena already there, cooking dinner like nothing had happened. She was wearing a new dress, something red and clingy that I'd never seen before. "New dress?" I asked. "This old thing? I've had it forever." She stirred the pasta sauce without looking at me. "How was your day?" "Educational." She glanced at me. "You're being weird, Trevor." "Am I?" "Yes. You're acting paranoid and jealous. It's not attractive." I almost laughed. Not attractive. Right. Unlike 21-year-old Jace with his muscles and his scholarship and his complete lack of moral boundaries. "Maybe I'm just paying more attention," I said. "To what?" "To everything." Elena slammed the spoon down. "This is ridiculous. You're obsessing over nothing. Jace is my student. I'm helping him succeed. That's what good teachers do." "Is that what you call it?" "What I call what?" I pulled out my phone and played 10 seconds of the recording, just Elena's voice saying, "I want you. God, I want you so much." Elena went white, then red, then white again. The pasta sauce bubbled over on the stove, filling the kitchen with the smell of burning tomatoes. "You recorded me," she whispered. "I recorded my wife having an affair. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." Elena turned off the burner and faced me. "Okay, yes, Jace and I have gotten close. But it's not some sordid affair. We have a connection, an intellectual connection." "Is that what you call his penis? Your intellectual connection?" She slapped me. Hard. My cheek stung, but I felt oddly satisfied. Now we were being honest. "You bastard!" she hissed. You have no idea what it's like being married to someone who makes me feel empty inside. Jace makes me feel alive. He appreciates me. He's 21 years old, Elena. He appreciates anything with breasts and a pulse. You're jealous because he's everything you're not. Young, passionate, exciting. I'm jealous because he's screwing my wife. Elena grabbed her purse and keys. I'm staying at my sister's tonight, maybe longer. You need to figure out what kind of marriage you want, Trevor. Because this jealous, controlling version of you isn't someone I want to be married to. She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of burned sauce and the wreckage of 8 years of marriage, and realized I felt lighter than I had in months. The truth, even when it hurt, was better than living a lie. Elena didn't come home that night, or the next. She was staying with her sister Melissa, who lived across town in a newer development where the houses all looked the same and everyone minded their own business. At least, they used to mind their own business. That was about to change. I spent the weekend researching Jace Porter. Social media made it easy. The kid documented everything. Instagram photos of him at parties, flexing at the gym, posing with his Mustang. His bio read, business major, future entrepreneur, blessed and grateful. No mention of his extracurricular activities with married professors. But the most interesting discovery was his scholarship information, publicly available through the college's website. Jace was on a full academic scholarship with a strict moral conduct clause. Any behavior deemed detrimental to the college's reputation could result in immediate termination of funding. Sleeping with married professors would definitely qualify. Monday morning, I went to work as usual. Word had already spread about Elena's absence. In a town like Grayfield, a teacher's marital problems were front-page news. My colleague Sarah Martinez cornered me in the faculty lounge. Trevor, I heard about you and Elena. I'm so sorry. Thanks, Sarah. If you need anything, someone to talk to. Actually, there is something. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Jace's Instagram photos. Him and Elena at El Toro, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing. Did you know Elena was dating her student? Sarah's eyes widened. Oh my God, Trevor, this is really bad. For her, I mean. The college has strict policies about teacher-student relationships. I know. Are you going to report it? I pretended to consider this. I don't know, I mean, my marriage is over either way, but it seems unfair that she gets to destroy our relationship and keep her career. Sarah nodded sympathetically. You should talk to someone. Maybe a lawyer? By lunch, 3 more teachers had approached me with similar conversations. By the end of the day, the story was spreading through both schools like wildfire. Elena Langley was sleeping with her student. Trevor Langley was the wronged husband. Jace Porter was a homewrecker. I drove to El Toro after work and found exactly what I expected. Elena and Jace at their usual table, looking less happy than in previous weeks. Elena kept glancing around nervously, while Jace seemed oblivious to the stares they were getting. I sat at the bar and ordered a beer from Tina. Well, she said. Looks like the cat's out of the bag. Looks like it. You doing okay? Better than I expected. Tina glanced over at Elena and Jace. She's been getting some looks tonight. Lot of people talking. People talk. Yeah, but this is different. This is the kind of talk that follows you around. I raised my beer in a mock toast, loud enough for the whole bar to hear, to the gifted and the damned. The bar went quiet. Elena's face turned crimson. Jace looked confused, then angry. Several other patrons turned to stare openly. Elena stood up abruptly. We're leaving. As they headed for the door, I called out, Give my regards to the Moral Conduct Committee. Jace stopped and turned around. What did you say? You heard me. He started toward me, but Elena grabbed his arm. Don't, just don't. They left quickly, Elena practically dragging Jace behind her. The bar buzzed with excited conversation. Tina refilled my beer without being asked. "That was cold," she said approvingly. "That was just the beginning." Tuesday morning brought a phone call from Elena. She was crying, which was something I hadn't heard in years. "Trevor, please, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Can you meet me for coffee?" "Where? El Toro?" "Don't be cruel." We met at a diner on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where truckers and insomniacs went to avoid being seen. Elena looked terrible. Red eyes, no makeup, wearing yesterday's clothes. She'd been crying for hours. "The college called me in for a meeting," she said without preamble. "Oh?" "Someone sent them photos of me and Jace and audio recordings." I sipped my coffee. "That's unfortunate." "It was you." "Don't lie to me, Trevor. It was you." "I haven't sent anything to anyone, but you and Jace weren't exactly discreet. Half the town has seen you together." Elena's hands shook as she reached for her coffee cup. "They're talking about termination, not just suspension. Termination. What did you expect? I expected my husband to fight for our marriage instead of destroying it. Our marriage was destroyed the moment you decided to sleep with your student." She flinched at the profanity. "It wasn't supposed to happen, it just did. These things happen, Trevor. People make mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting to buy milk. Affairs are choices. I was lonely. You never touch me anymore, never look at me like I'm desirable. Jace made me feel beautiful again. So this is my fault? It's both our faults. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through it." I leaned back in the booth and studied my wife's face. She was beautiful, even crying and desperate. But beauty without loyalty was just packaging around something rotten. "Elena, do you love him?" She hesitated too long. "It's not about love. It's about feeling alive." "Do you love me?" Another hesitation. "I married you." "That's not an answer." She started crying again. "I don't know anymore. I don't know anything anymore." I left money on the table and stood up. "Then we don't have anything to work through." "Trevor, wait. Please. If you ever loved me, don't let them destroy my career." "I'm not destroying anything, Elena. You did that all by yourself." I walked out and left her crying in the booth. It should have felt cruel, but it felt like justice. That afternoon, I got a visit from two of Elena's friends from the college, Professor Janet Williams and Dr. Rebecca Stone. They cornered me in my classroom after school, both looking stern and disapproving. "Trevor," Janet began, "we need to talk about Elena." "What about her?" "About what you're doing to her," Rebecca added. "This vindictive campaign to destroy her career." I laughed. "Vindictive campaign? I haven't done anything except discover that my wife is sleeping with her student." "You're spreading rumors," Janet accused. "I'm telling the truth, there's a difference." "Elena made a mistake," Rebecca said. "A human mistake. That doesn't mean she deserves to lose everything." "What about what I lost?" "You lost a wife who was unhappy," Janet snapped. "Elena's losing her entire career, her reputation, her future. Maybe she should have thought about that before she started screwing Jace Porter." Rebecca stepped closer. "You're being deliberately cruel. Elena is a good teacher, a good person who made one mistake. One mistake that lasted months. One mistake that she recorded in my home, lied about to my face, and would still be continuing if I hadn't found out. She's our friend," Janet said, "and we won't stand by and watch you destroy her." "Then don't watch." They exchanged glances, and I saw something shift in their expressions, something harder, more threatening. "Maybe you should think about your own reputation," Rebecca said quietly. "Small towns have long memories. People talk. Are you threatening me? We're reminding you that you have to live in this community too." And if people start thinking you're the kind of man who destroys women out of spite. I stood up from my desk, and both women stepped back. I'm not a big man, but I'm not small either. And there was something in my expression that made them nervous. Let me be very clear, I said. Elena destroyed herself. I just refused to help her cover it up. And if you two want to make this into something bigger, I have hours of audio recordings that prove exactly what kind of good person your friend really is. They left quickly after that, whispering to each other in the hallway. But I knew this wasn't over. Elena had allies, and they were going to fight back. I was looking forward to it. Wednesday brought the counterattack I'd been expecting. It started with a call from my principal, Dr. Martha Hendricks, asking me to come to her office immediately. Trevor, sit down. We need to discuss some concerns that have been brought to my attention. What kind of concerns? About your recent behavior. I've had several calls from parents and community members expressing worry about your stability. I almost smiled. Elena's friends had been busy. My stability? There are reports that you've been making public scenes, harassing your estranged wife, and creating a hostile environment for other educators in the district. That's interesting. What kind of public scenes? Dr. Hendricks consulted a file on her desk. Shouting at your wife in a restaurant, making threatening comments at a local bar, confronting college faculty members in an aggressive manner. Did these reports mention that my wife is having an affair with her student? Your personal life is your business, Trevor. But when it starts affecting your professional reputation and the reputation of this school, it affects the school's reputation when one of our teachers discovers his wife is violating ethics policies at the college? Dr. Hendricks sighed. Trevor, I understand you're going through a difficult time. I'm recommending you take some personal leave while you work through these issues. Are you suspending me? I'm giving you the opportunity to step back before this situation gets worse. I leaned forward in my chair. Martha, let me ask you something. If you discovered that your husband was sleeping with a student, what would you do? I would handle it privately. Even if that student was on a scholarship that prohibited exactly that kind of behavior? Even if your husband was violating professional ethics and potentially breaking the law? Dr. Hendricks looked uncomfortable. The college will handle their own personnel issues. And I'm handling mine. I stood up and headed for the door. I don't need personal leave. I need my wife to stop sleeping with her student and her friends, to stop trying to intimidate me into covering it up. Trevor, I'll be in my classroom if anyone needs me, teaching math, which is what I've always done and what I'll keep doing until someone gives me a legitimate reason to stop. I left her office and went back to teaching. But I knew the pressure was going to increase. Elena's allies were organizing, and they had more influence in the community than I did. Time to change the game. That evening, I drove to Jace's off-campus apartment. His red Mustang was parked outside, and I could see lights on in the second-floor windows. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, just watching and thinking. Jace Porter was 21 years old, full of confidence and entitlement, convinced that he was smarter and better than everyone around him. He'd seduced a married woman, destroyed a marriage, and was now facing the consequences of his actions. But he still thought he could charm his way out of trouble. He was about to learn otherwise. I got out of my car and walked up to his apartment. The front door was unlocked, typical college student carelessness. I climbed the stairs and knocked on his door. "It's open!" he called. I walked in and found Jace sitting on his couch, playing video games and drinking beer. He looked up, and his expression changed immediately. "What the hell are you doing here?" "We need to talk." "Get out, now." "Relax, Jace. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make you an offer." He paused his game and stood up. "What kind of offer?" "The kind that might save your scholarship." That got his attention. "I'm listening." "Elena's career is over. The college is going to fire her, probably this week, but you still have a chance to salvage your situation." "How?" "By being smart, by making the right choice." Jace crossed his arms. What choice? You can be the victim or the villain. Right now, you're both. But if you play this right, you can be just the victim. What are you talking about? I sat down in his chair without being invited. Elena is a 35-year-old professor who seduced her 21-year-old student. That's the story that's going to come out no matter what. The question is whether you're the innocent kid who got manipulated by an older woman or the cocky little shit who bragged about screwing his teacher. Jace's face went pale. You recorded us. I recorded everything, hours of it, including the parts where you talk about how much better Elena is than girls your age, how much you enjoy the thrill of the affair, how stupid her husband is. You can't use that? It's illegal? Actually, it's not. I recorded conversations in my own workplace and in public spaces, perfectly legal. The question is what I do with those recordings. Jace sat back down heavily. What do you want? I want you to disappear, transfer to another school, break all contact with Elena, and never come back to Grayfield. And if I don't? I pulled out my phone and played a clip of Jace's voice. Elena's husband is such a loser. I can't believe she married that boring math teacher when she could have someone like me. Jace closed his eyes. Damn. That's just a sample. I have much worse. I have you laughing about cuckolding me. I have you making plans to continue the affair even after Elena's investigation starts. I have you talking about how easy it was to seduce her. Okay, I get it. Do you? Because Elena's friends are trying to paint you as the innocent victim in all this, the young student who got taken advantage of by an older woman. But if these recordings get out, that narrative falls apart pretty quickly. Jace was quiet for a long moment. What exactly are you asking me to do? Transfer to another school. Today, pack up your stuff and leave town. Don't contact Elena. Don't try to salvage your relationship. Don't attempt to fight the college's decision. Just disappear. And if I do that? The recordings stay private. You get to be the victim. Elena takes all the blame. And if I don't? Then everyone gets to hear exactly what kind of person you really are, including the scholarship committee, your parents, and every future employer who Googles your name. Jace stared at his hands for a long time. This is blackmail. This is consequences. Finally, he looked up. How do I know you won't release the recordings anyway? Because once you're gone, you're irrelevant to me. I don't care what happens to you as long as you stay out of my life. Jace nodded slowly. Okay, I'll transfer. Good choice. I stood up and headed for the door. Oh, and Jace, if you ever come back to Grayfield or if you ever contact Elena again, those recordings go public immediately. Understood? Understood. I left him sitting in his apartment, staring at the wall and probably wondering how his life had gotten so complicated so quickly. I felt no sympathy for him. He'd made his choices, and now he was living with the consequences. One down, one to go. Thursday morning, Elena called me again. This time, she wasn't crying. What did you do to Jace? Good morning to you too, Elena. He's transferring schools. He's leaving town. What did you say to him? I gave him some advice about his future. You threatened him. I explained his options. Elena was quiet for a moment. The college is meeting with me tomorrow. They're going to fire me. Probably. And you're okay with that? With destroying my entire career? Elena, I didn't destroy your career. You did. I just refused to help you cover it up. We were married for 8 years, Trevor. 8 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me. Past tense. So that's it? You're just going to let them ruin me? I'm going to let you face the consequences of your actions. Elena's voice turned cold. You know what? Fine. If you want to play this game, let's play. I've been talking to a lawyer. About what? About divorce. About division of assets. About how your harassment and stalking behavior affected my mental health. I almost laughed. Harassment and stalking? You recorded me without permission. You followed me. You confronted my friends and colleagues. You threatened my student. I documented my wife's affair and had conversations with people. That's not harassment. A jury might see it differently. Elena, you're a college professor who had an affair with her student. You violated ethics policies, potentially broke the law, and destroyed our marriage. No jury is going to see you as the victim here. We'll see. She hung up, and I sat in my empty apartment, staring at my phone. Elena was desperate now, and desperate people did unpredictable things. But I wasn't worried. I had evidence, witnesses, and the moral high ground. She had a lawyer and a lot of anger. I knew which one would win in court. That evening, I went to El Toro for dinner. The bar was busy, full of college students and locals unwinding after work. I sat at my usual spot and ordered a burger from Tina. "How you holding up?" she asked. "Better than expected. Heard Jace Porter left town." "Did he?" Tina grinned. "Come on, Trevor. Everyone knows you had something to do with that. I just had a conversation with him about his future prospects." Must have been some conversation. I was halfway through my burger when Elena's friends showed up. Janet Williams, Rebecca Stone, and 2 other professors I didn't recognize. They walked over to my table and stood there like an academic tribunal. "Trevor," Janet said, "we need to talk." "I'm eating." "This won't take long." I looked up at the 4 women surrounding my table. "Let me guess. You want me to back off, Elena?" "We want you to stop this vindictive campaign," Rebecca said. "Elena's career is over. Her reputation is destroyed. Isn't that enough revenge for you?" "This isn't about revenge. It's about consequences." "You've made your point," one of the other professors said. "Now it's time to move on." "I have moved on. I'm eating dinner." Janet leaned closer. "Elena is talking about suicide, Trevor. Is that what you want? Is that the kind of man you are?" I put down my burger and looked at her. "Elena is talking about suicide because she got caught having an affair? She's lost everything. Her job, her marriage, her reputation, her future. She risked everything when she decided to sleep with her student. I didn't make that choice for her." "You could have handled this privately," Rebecca said. "You could have worked it out between yourselves. Like Elena handled our marriage privately when she was screwing Jace Porter?" The conversation was getting loud enough to attract attention from other patrons. Tina was watching from behind the bar, ready to intervene if necessary. "You're a cruel man," Janet said. "Elena made one mistake, and you're destroying her entire life over it." I stood up and faced the 4 women. Elena didn't make one mistake. She made dozens of them, every day, for months. She chose to have an affair. She chose to lie about it. She chose to gaslight me when I got suspicious. She chose to bring her lover to public places where everyone could see them. She chose to violate her professional ethics and potentially break the law. Those weren't mistakes. They were choices. "She's human," Rebecca protested. "Humans make bad choices sometimes. And humans face consequences for those choices. That's how the world works." "Not like this," Janet said. "Not with this level of cruelty." I looked around the bar. Every conversation had stopped. Everyone was watching our confrontation. Perfect. "You want to know about cruelty?" I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Cruelty is lying to your husband's face for months. Cruelty is making him think he's going crazy when he suspects the truth. Cruelty is bringing your lover to places where your husband's colleagues can see you. Cruelty is having closeness in your office and laughing about how stupid your husband is." The bar was completely silent now. "Elena didn't just cheat on me," I continued. "She humiliated me. She made me a joke in my own community. She violated her professional ethics and corrupted a student. And when she got caught, she tried to make it my fault for not being exciting enough." I sat back down and picked up my burger. "So if you want to talk about cruelty, let's start with what your friend did to our marriage." Then we can discuss whether facing the consequences of her actions is really so unfair. The four professors looked around at the staring faces, realized they'd lost the audience, and left quickly. The bar stayed quiet for another minute, then gradually resumed normal conversation levels. Tina brought me a fresh beer. On the house. Thanks. That was brutal. That was honest. Friday afternoon, Elena was officially terminated from Grayfield Community College. The news spread through town within hours. In a community this small, a scandal like this was front-page material for weeks. I heard about it from Sarah Martinez, who got a call from a friend who worked in the college's administrative office. They didn't just fire her, Sarah told me during our lunch break. They're reporting her to the state education board. She might lose her teaching license entirely. That's unfortunate. Trevor, are you okay with this? I mean, she was your wife. I thought about that question. Was I okay with Elena losing everything? A month ago, the answer would have been no. A month ago, I would have been devastated by her pain, even if she'd caused it herself. But that was before I'd heard her laughing about what a boring husband I was. Before I'd listened to her planning to continue the affair even after I got suspicious. Before she'd tried to make me the villain in her story. Elena made her choices, I said. Now she gets to live with them. That evening, Elena called me one last time. I hope you're happy, she said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. I'm not happy, Elena, but I'm not miserable anymore either. They took everything, my job, my license, my future, everything. You took everything from our marriage first. I made a mistake. You made a choice, multiple choices, over and over again. Elena was quiet for a long moment. What happens now? Now you figure out how to rebuild your life, somewhere else with someone else. And you? What do you get out of this? I looked around my apartment, our former apartment. In a few weeks, I'd be moving to a smaller place across town. Starting over at 37 wasn't ideal, but it wasn't impossible either. I get my self-respect back, I said. I get to stop being the fool who didn't know his wife was cheating on him. I get to stop pretending our marriage was something it wasn't. I did love you, Trevor, at the beginning. I know. But you're right. I stopped. I don't know when or why, but I stopped loving you, and I was too cowardly to admit it. It was the first honest thing she'd said to me in months. Thank you for saying that. Will you ever forgive me? I considered the question. Forgiveness was supposed to be noble, healing, the mature response to betrayal. But forgiveness implied that the relationship mattered enough to salvage, and ours didn't. Not anymore. I don't need to forgive you, Elena. I just need to forget you. She hung up without saying goodbye. 2 months later, I was settled into my new apartment on the other side of town. It was smaller than the place I'd shared with Elena, but it was mine. No shared memories, no contaminated spaces, no reminders of 8 years of marriage that had ended in betrayal and lies. Elena had left Grayfield entirely. I heard through the gossip network that she'd moved back to her hometown in Pennsylvania, where she was working as a substitute teacher while appealing the loss of her teaching license. Jace Porter had transferred to a school in California and was reportedly doing well, having successfully reinvented himself as the innocent victim of an older woman's manipulation. I didn't care what happened to either of them. My life had returned to a comfortable routine, teaching math, grading papers, having dinner at El Toro a few nights a week. The scandal had faded down, replaced by newer gossip and fresher drama. People still looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and respect. Sympathy for what I'd endured, respect for how I'd handled it. I was grading tests one Thursday evening when my phone rang. Unknown number. Trevor, this is Janet Williams, Elena's friend from the college. I almost hung up. What do you want, Janet? I wanted to apologize. That was unexpected. For what? For how we treated you, for trying to make you the villain when Elena was the one who did what she did. Okay. We were trying to protect our friend, but we were wrong. What Elena did was inexcusable, and you had every right to expose it. I waited for the catch. There was always a catch. Elena tried to eliminate herself last week, Janet said quietly. There it was. Is she okay? She's alive. She's in a psychiatric facility getting help. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you really? I thought about it. Was I sorry that Elena had tried to eliminate herself? Yes, I was. I'd wanted her to face consequences for her actions, not to fade. But I also wasn't going to pretend that her suicide attempt was my fault. I'm sorry she's in pain, I said. But I'm not responsible for her choices, Janet. Not the choice to have an affair, and not the choice to try to eliminate herself when she faced the consequences. I know, Janet said. I think I always knew that, but I didn't want to admit it. Elena was our friend, and we wanted to believe she was the victim. She was a victim of her own choices. Yes. We were quiet for a moment. How are you doing, Trevor? I'm doing well. Better than I expected. Good. You deserve to be happy. After she hung up, I sat in my apartment thinking about Elena in a psychiatric facility, probably medicated and monitored, trying to figure out how her life had gone so wrong so quickly. I felt sad for her, but I didn't feel guilty. She'd made her choices, and I'd made mine. The difference was that I could live with mine. 6 months after Elena's termination, I ran into Dr. Hendricks at the grocery store. She seemed genuinely pleased to see me. Trevor, how are you doing? Very well, thank you. I owe you an apology. When all this started, I thought you were having some kind of breakdown. I didn't realize how bad things really were. You were trying to protect the school, I understand. Still, I should have been more supportive. What Elena did, it was inexcusable. Dr. Hendricks looked around the produce section, then leaned closer. Can I ask you something? How did you stay so calm through all of it? I mean, most men would have lost their minds. I picked up a bag of apples and considered her question. I think I did lose my mind for a while, but then I realized that staying calm was the best revenge. Elena expected me to rage and scream and make a fool of myself. When I didn't, when I just methodically documented what she was doing and let the consequences play out naturally, it was more devastating than any tantrum could have been. That's very mature of you. Maturity had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to win. Dr. Hendricks laughed. Did you? Win, I mean. I thought about Elena in her psychiatric facility, Jace Porter starting over in California, and myself standing in a grocery store having a normal conversation with my principal about produce and life choices. Yeah, I said. I think I did. That weekend, I had dinner at El Toro and found myself sitting next to a woman I'd never seen before. She was about my age, attractive in an understated way, reading a book while she ate. Good book? I asked. She looked up and smiled. It's okay. Mystery novel. The husband always seems to be the villain in these things. Not always. No? In my experience, it's usually the person closest to the victim who does the most damage. I raised my beer. To experience. She clinked her glass against mine. To learning from it. Her name was Lisa, and she was new in town, working as a nurse at the county hospital. She was divorced, had no kids, and was looking for a fresh start in a place where nobody knew her history. We talked for 2 hours about books, work, and the peculiar social dynamics of small college towns. She was smart, funny, and refreshingly direct. When I told her I was recently divorced, she didn't press for details. Divorce is tough, she said, but sometimes it's the best thing that can happen to a person. Why's that? Because it forces you to figure out who you really are when you're not trying to be half of something that doesn't work. I like that perspective. We exchanged numbers, and I walked her to her car. She didn't invite me home, and I didn't expect her to. But she did suggest we have dinner again the following weekend. "I'd like that," I said. "Good. But fair warning, I don't do drama. I've had enough drama for one lifetime." "No drama," I promised. "Just dinner and conversation with someone who reads mystery novels." She laughed. "Perfect." As I watched her drive away, I realized I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: anticipation for the future. Not the desperate hope that my marriage might somehow get better, but genuine excitement about what might come next. Elena had taken a lot from me: my trust, my peace of mind, my faith in marriage. But she hadn't taken everything. I was still here, still standing, still capable of meeting someone new and starting over. That felt like victory. 1 year after Elena's affair came to light, I was cleaning out my desk at school when I found the original voice recording on my phone. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of my marriage ending in real time. I listened to it once, then deleted it. I didn't need the evidence anymore. Elena was gone, Jace was gone, and the whole ugly chapter of my life was closed. Keeping the recording felt like holding on to poison. It might have been useful once, but now it was just toxic. Lisa and I had been dating for 4 months. She knew the basic facts about my divorce, but she didn't know the details, and she didn't ask. She was more interested in who I was now than who I'd been when I was married to someone else. We took things slowly. Both of us had been burned by previous relationships, and neither of us was in a hurry to repeat old mistakes, but we enjoyed each other's company, and that was enough for now. "Do you ever regret how you handled things with Elena?" Lisa asked me one evening over dinner. We were at a new restaurant across town, far from El Toro and its memories. "No," I said. "I regret that it happened at all, but I don't regret how I responded." "Even knowing how it ended? With her in the hospital?" Elena's suicide attempt wasn't about facing consequences for the affair. It was about losing control of the narrative. She expected to be able to manipulate the situation, to make herself the victim and me the villain. When that didn't work, when people saw her actions for what they really were, she couldn't handle it. Lisa nodded. Some people can't accept responsibility for their choices. Elena was one of those people. And you're not. I try not to be. Lisa reached across the table and took my hand. "That's one of the things I like about you. You own your decisions. Even the bad ones, especially the bad ones." We finished dinner and walked back to my apartment. Lisa had started staying over on weekends, and we developed an easy domestic rhythm that felt natural and unforced. She made coffee in the mornings while I cooked breakfast. I graded papers while she read medical journals. We watched movies and argued about plot holes and character motivations. It was normal, comfortable, and completely different from the emotional warfare that had defined the last year of my marriage. "Trevor," Lisa said as we got ready for bed, "can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Do you think you'll ever get married again?" I considered the question. Maybe, if I found the right person, someone who wanted the same things I want. "What do you want?" "Honesty, loyalty, someone who chooses to be with me every day, not someone who stays because it's convenient or comfortable." Lisa smiled. "That sounds reasonable." "What about you? Ever want to get married again?" "Maybe, to the right person." "What would make someone the right person?" "Someone who doesn't cheat on me with their students would be a good start." I laughed. "That's a pretty low bar." "You'd be surprised how many people can't clear it." We went to bed, and I lay awake for a while thinking about the past year. Elena's affair had destroyed our marriage, but it had also freed me from a relationship that was slowly eliminating me. I'd been so focused on trying to make things work that I'd forgotten what it felt like to be with someone who actually wanted to be there. Lisa wanted to be there. Not because she had to, not because it was expected, but because she chose to. Every day she chose to answer my calls, to have dinner with me, to spend her weekends in my apartment instead of somewhere else. That choice, freely made and regularly renewed, was worth more than 8 years of marriage built on obligation and habit.